Grassy Posse Packer Nation, welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom Grassi, and I wasn't gonna make this episode, but I've seen more and more of the same comment down in the comment section of, Tom, is Khalil Mack coming to Green Bay? Tom, what do you think about Khalil Mack? Tom, what kind of breakfast sandwich do you prefer in the morning? Oh, and is Khalil Mack coming to Green Bay? Well, to answer your question about breakfast sandwiches, I usually just stick with like a banana and some oatmeal. But the more important question about Khalil Mack and the short version of this entire video, and the answer is Khalil Mack coming to Green Bay, is most likely not. But maybe. But most likely not. It reminds me of Dumb and Dumber, and basically it's like, you're telling me there's a chance. It's about a 1 in a million chance, but what we're going to do is I'm going to explain this entire Khalil Mack situation for you. We're going to go through the 4 key people or key groups that we need to talk about to completely understand this situation. And by the end of it, I think you'll have a better understanding, if you don't already do, about what's going on with Khalil Mack and why he may or may not go to the Green Bay Packers. Now, before we do that, let's do a little bit of housekeeping and thank our sponsor, DoubleDriveSports.com. DoubleDriveSports.com is like having a friendly pool. It's a pick'em pool, except it's on the internets, in which there is live scoring. You can chat with your friends. Basically, you go and you create a league. Every single week, you pick the team that you think is going to win, and at the end of the year, the person who has the most points wins the league. Right now, they are doing a completely free version of that for the preseason, so it's completely free to sign up. You just put in your email, and basically you pick the preseason winners or who you think is going to win, and at the end of the season, the person who has the most points is going to win a free 55-inch Sony Smart TV. So hop on that. They are sponsors. They're good to us, and so they're a really cool site. It's something cool it's something that I'm using, and I'm having a lot of fun with, so check that out. Now, let's talk about Khalil Mack. So the first person we obviously need to talk about, number 1, is the man himself, the beast, the monster, Khalil Mack. Let's talk about his stats real quick. Since 2014, he's had 40.5 sacks, 231 tackles, and he's never missed a game. That's right, he has started all 16 games in every single one of his seasons. This year, he is going to make $13.846 million because he was a top 10 pick. He's gone to 3 straight Pro Bowls, and in my opinion, he is the best player on the team. I think he was number 3rd in the running for Rookie of the Year during his rookie season, but he lost out to Aaron Donald and I think C.J. Mosley, if I'm not mistaken. So, we know that this guy is a monster. We know how good he is. And when I'm saying he's the best player on the team, I really mean that. I mean, he's better than the quarterback. He's better than Carr. He's definitely better than like any wide receivers that they have going. Except in my heart, Jordy Nelson will always be number 1. But that's besides the point. So Khalil Mack, we know how good he is, and the situation is right now he's been holding out for camp for the past 12 days. He's refusing to show up, and rumors are that the Raiders organization and Khalil Mack are not even communicating with each other. It's complete and total radio silence. And so if you've been hearing about this in the media, the reason being is because the longer that he is away from camp, the more that the rumors are starting to fly, and people are getting nervous of, oh, are the Raiders looking to trade him, or they don't have Gruden and Mack don't have a good relationship? Is this the end of their tenure together? And so as the holdout is going to continue, more and more of these stories are going to fly. And it's not just the Packers that are being considered. If you go into Google right now and type in Khalil Mack 2, it comes up to the 49ers. It comes up with the Jets. There's a number of teams that are in the running. And let's get this out of the way right now. The Packers would definitely benefit from having Khalil Mack, but I would argue every other team would also benefit from having Khalil Mack on the team. The guy is a monster, and if he continues to play the way that he's going to be playing, the guy is in for a Hall of Fame career. Now, that's Khalil Mack and what's going on with him. The second group that we need to talk about is the Oakland Raiders themselves and how they got into this mess to begin with. Now, Khalil Mack is currently on his 5th year of his rookie contract. So the Raiders decided to exercise that 5th-year option. Again, he is going to make $13.846 million. Now, here's the problem with the Raiders. If they really wanted to, if they wanted to be like the biggest of douches, what they could do is they could franchise tag him in 2019 and 2020, meaning that they would have to pay him, obviously, but they don't have to have a contract in place. So theoretically, if you include this season, the guy can still play for 3 more years in Oakland. Now, technically, the Packers can do the same exact thing with Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers' contract is something that's been talked about as well, yet nobody's talking about trading him. The Packers could franchise tag him for 2 years as well, but again, I don't think it's going to come to that in either scenario. Now, the Raiders are having a little bit of an issue in cap room. They're one of the poorer teams in the NFL. They only have $2.26 million in cap room, and obviously, Khalil Mack is going to be demanding some serious money. He's going to want to get paid like the defensive star that he is. He's probably going to set a new standard for contracts, similar to how Kirk Cousins set a new standard for quarterbacks. And similar, for example, how Aaron Rodgers wanted Matt Ryan to get signed so his contract can be better than his. Because these once-in-a-generation players, the best at their position, and especially because Khalil Mack is an edge rusher, which is constantly in need, they want to get paid the best. It's kind of like a LeBron going from year to year to year thing. It's the same exact idea. Now, the problem why the Raiders can't just throw money at this guy, and I think it's such a tense standoff, is because last year they had a very similar problem with their left tackle, Donald Penn. Donald Penn held out for about 26 days, and the front office refused to give in to him. Now, Penn wound up coming back. He came back, and they wound up signing a 2-year extension with him, but they basically sent a message to the team that we're not going to negotiate with terrorists. And not that their left tackles or their defensive ends are terrorists, but basically they're not going to negotiate with guys who are going to have this kind of standoff and hold out from the team. So if they turn around now, and they turn to Khalil Mack, and they're like, oh, baby, come back, and they throw a bucket load of money at him, it doesn't look good, and it doesn't send a good message to the rest of the team. So besides just looking bad and giving in to Khalil Mack's demands, let's also look why it really doesn't make any sense for the Raiders to trade Khalil Mack. Besides all the stats that we mentioned and how great of a player he was earlier, if they wanted to actually trade Khalil Mack, because Khalil Mack was kind of making his intentions known, so if they actually was this rift and the Raiders really wanted to trade him, they probably would have done it before the season started, before the draft, so they could actually get help on their team that year. We've already talked about how Khalil Mack is the best player on that team. So if you take him away, you ain't getting any help until the next season. So let's just say, for example, they wanted to trade and get 2 first-round picks next year for Khalil Mack. That means that they have essentially given up on defense on that side of the ball, or at least they have let a future potential Hall of Famer walk away. And for the rest of the season, they're kind of throwing their hands in the air because they ain't getting any help anytime soon. So if this trade was going to happen, it was going to happen earlier in the season or in the off season before the draft. Now, another reason why this doesn't make sense is you got to think about it from a front office standpoint. It would look really, really bad if you let this guy go, considering how beloved he is in Oakland, and considering they are going to be making the move to Vegas. It's also important, too, that you bring like those known faces like those Derek Carrs, those Khalil Macks, those Jordy Nelsons, because those are the people that fans are going to follow, right? And so you get rid of them, that is a main staple of your franchise, and it really just doesn't make economic sense, business sense, football sense, common sense to get rid of Khalil Mack. That's the Raiders. Now, there is a third group in this story, and that is Aaron Donald of the Los Angeles Rams. I almost said St. Louis. So Aaron Donald is currently going through a similar situation of Khalil Mack. He is currently holding out as well because he refuses to play under his current contract. Now, Aaron Donald was not a top 10 player, meaning that he is not getting in the draft. So he's not getting the money that Khalil Mack is making. Because Khalil Mack was drafted in the top 10, he is making more than Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald's like, dudes, I am amazing. I am one of the best players on your team. Pay me as such. Now, one of the big differences between the Khalil Mack situation and the Aaron Donald situation is that Aaron Donald and the Rams are talking. They were quoted saying like they were in the same zip code, in the same ballpark. So negotiations are going on with them. So here's how I see this going. Khalil Mack and the Raiders are most likely waiting, similar to how the Packers and Aaron Rodgers were waiting for Matt Ryan to get signed. Khalil Mack is probably waiting to see what Aaron Donald gets signed, because Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack are some of the best defensive players, if not the best defensive players in football today. So if Aaron Donald doesn't sign and Khalil Mack gets signed first, Aaron Donald's going to make more money, and vice versa. And so because of that, I would think that after Aaron Donald gets signed by the Los Angeles Rams to a new contract, then negotiations are going to start to open up between Khalil Mack and the Raiders, because now they have a foundation to work upon. Because right now, it's just arbitrary numbers that are being thrown around. Nobody knows what this new contract for these kind of defensive players are going to be. And as those contracts go up and up and up, there's just going to be new records set every single year. That's why, for example, one of the big stories that came out this summer with Aaron Rodgers is that he's potentially looking into an opt-out contract where if a quarterback gets paid more money than him, he can renegotiate that contract so he remains the top paid quarterback in the NFL. So I'm pretty certain that Khalil Mack is just waiting for Aaron Donald to get signed. He's probably texting him like, all right, dude, like let's make this happen. So Aaron Donald could get his big fat payday and Khalil Mack can capitalize that and make even more money. Now, the fourth and final organization we need to talk about is the Green Bay Packers themselves. Why would Khalil Mack, after everything I just said, and I really don't think it's going to happen, I don't think the Raiders are going to let him go. Let's talk about, if he was to be traded, why the Packers are a great fit. Let's talk about the obvious one, the need. The Packers have needed a dominant edge rusher for quite some time. I don't remember really the last time that we had one. Julius Peppers, he was obviously, he was a great rusher. He got to the quarterback, but he was a temporary fix. Khalil Mack is in his prime. So this means that not only would the Packers have him for a really long time, but they would have a dominant pass rusher, and he would automatically become one of the best, if not the best players on that defense. Now, the Packers have about $10 million in cap left for this season, but here becomes a problem in that the Packers are usually super duper conservative when it comes to their cap space. They are going to have to pay Khalil Mack like the superstar he is, and I'm pretty sure that they don't want to do that. That's a lot of money to throw at a player. Now, that being said, when you come to the Raiders, the Packers are sitting on 2 first-round picks, thank you to the New Orleans Saints. They're sitting on 2 2019 first-round picks next year. And so, if the Packers and if the Raiders were actually considering trading Khalil Mack, you would think that at least they would have their ears open to 2 potential first-rounders. Now, is it worth it that you essentially get almost a certified potential Hall of Famer in Khalil Mack? You make your defense amazingly better, or do you keep that and continuing to build your talent the way that the Packers have been doing it through the draft for God knows how long as Ted Thompson's been alive? Now, again, I don't think Khalil Mack is going to the Packers, but if that was to happen, I think that the Packers at least would be in the running because of what they have to offer. But I'm very curious on what you think. Do you think that 2 first-round picks are worth trading for Khalil Mack? I have a feeling that a bunch of you would say yes, but I'm really curious, and I want you to let me know what you think down in the comments below. So, that's the Khalil Mack situation. I don't think he's going to be leaving Oakland. He's going to be making a ton of money, I think, probably before the start of the season. But we'll wait and see. I could be completely off base here, but that's just my gut instinct and looking at all the facts. That's where I see this going. They're going to wait for Aaron Donald, and they'll sign a big fat contract for him. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. You could always check me out at TomGrossiComedy.com, TomGrossi Comedy, or Tom Grossi Comedy on the Twitter and the Facebooks and the Instagrams. You could also check out my debut comedy album coming out August 24th, Allergic to Fun. It's available on iTunes, also available on Amazon, and in physical copies, which will be signed on TomGrossiComedy.com. So check those out. Also, I'll be running for Parkinsons research in the New York City Marathon. So if you want to donate to a great cause, 100% of the proceeds go to them. You can check that out in the descriptions down below. So, Thank you so much. I hope this cleared everything up. I hope this was informative enough. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grassi. And as always, go Pack Go.